Takeout is cool, but delivery gets pricey. So, like a phoenix from the ashes, indoor dining is back at Forged Eatery. I use the analogy because the food is fire. It's a new approach to farm to table. No overalls, just dope food. Try my favorites, like the mushroom stew with pine nuts and ricotta, the cornmeal fried happy oysters, and the seared duck breast. Also, ask about the chocolate chip cookie tins. Mini chocolate chip cookies with a dusting of sea salt. Simply delicious. Head on over to forgedeatery.com to check out the current menu options and make a reservation today. Forged is located at 3520 Chestnut Avenue in Hamden. What's shaking, cats and kittens? I'm Rob Lee from Getting to the Truth in This Art. And this podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Bazaar. Bazaar is a gift shop for those seeking the strange and unusual. Got morbid curiosity? Got an interest in natural history? Bazaar's got you covered. Bazaar specializes in antique medical equipment, jewelry, prints, funerary antiques, and many other morbid gifts. The inventory is ever-changing. I'm wearing a Great Death's Head moth pin, and I'm enjoying this hand-poured candle called Overgrown Cemetery. It's great. It has the studio smelling awesome. Head on over to 3534 Chestnut Avenue in Baltimore, it's in that Hamden neighborhood, and see what they got to offer at Bazaar. Tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today's guest is the owner of Mouth Party Caramel in Towson. We have BG Purcell. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling sweet. I'm feeling almost like caramel, actually.
That's right.
When people say, "Hey, can you describe what you look like?" I was like, caramel, Mouth Party Caramel specifically. The one with the Old Bay kind of flavoring to it, because Baltimore.
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming on this podcast. So for those who are uninitiated and not even in the area, I know that you all like ship and have a footprint outside of this area, but for those who are uninitiated, give that rundown of what you do and what Mouth Party is about. Yeah.
So started Mouth Party in 2007. It is a small family business. We make a gourmet, I like to say, artisan caramel. It when you taste it, it tastes old fashioned to me. It actually is my stepmother's grandmother. So we're working on the fourth and fifth generation here making it. And it just kind of started it. I had another career in life, but I had two young kids and wanted to do something where I could have the kids be more a part of what my day-to-day work was. And my stepmom is a 2-time lymphoma survivor. Okay. And really wanted to do something, give back towards cancer support, cancer research, and so forth. So for about 5 minutes, I thought about making a nonprofit using this recipe, but quickly decided that I was just going to start it slowly and see if it had legs.
That's great. And it's great to actually work within a cause, because a lot of times I just did it for money. It's like, no, you were doing it for a reason that's close and near and dear to you. And I think that's really important to do something that is serving a larger community, because you get remembered and you get appreciated for that outside of putting out a great product.
Absolutely.
So you touched on it a little bit. I read that your background is in architecture. So, how was that thinking going into the candy biz? Because those are, I don't know, maybe you can build something. I've seen some interesting television shows. You can make candy sculptures or something. But so speak on that a bit.
Yeah, it's not what you would call a natural segue at all. But, I think one of the things that does come in handy is my background's in landscape architecture. I got a master's years ago and primarily do garden design. I got into the whole thing because I'm a big fan of animals and I wanted to work designing zoos. So that's how I got into it. But the creative process of making something out of nothing, having a vision and creating is very similar to making the caramel product, right? Like you have all of these elements that you put in place and how you work the process, the ultimate product, in this case being a caramel, is much like a landscape design plan in the end. It's the creative process that I'm drawn to. And I was able to kind of use that same knowledge base. I will say the friends I have from grad school, were definitely a little concerned about me when I said I'm now making candy. But yeah, so in a way, the creative process is similar. That's the tie.
Yeah, I think when you find something that's transferable, it's like how can you translate it? How can you translate the language in a Rosetta Stone sort of way? How can you translate the language or the skills that you have to a different space? So outside of this space, my background is as a data analyst. And I was like, how can I use those skills to better do what I do? Because you only have so many hours in the day and such. Mm-hmm. So in growing this and in being an entrepreneur in this space, it's like I got to maximize the hours that I'm putting towards it. Systems. Absolutely. How can I automate things? Systems. And that would make sense to me. So if potentially I move fully into doing podcasts and content creation and so on, I feel like I'll be on the other side answering the question. How did you come up with this?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's good. The recipe was handed down, right? And it's generations old, because I wasn't sure between four to five. So generations old. Is there much room for deviation? And is there any plan to extend those current offerings? I think I read that there are 5. Is that true? Or what speak on that a bit?
Yeah. So the first point about the deviation from the recipe. So I really did commit myself early on to not deviating from the standard recipe. Caramel in and of itself has base ingredients that really anybody can make a caramel if they set out to do it. I think what makes ours different is the process and the types of material ingredients that we use. And so I didn't want to deviate from that. In fact, I tried years back. I used to be in Whole Foods for a long period of time. And then they adopted a no high fructose corn syrup policy. And I was told my products had to either adapt or not be on the shelf. Right. So I toyed around with using agave syrup, tapioca syrup, you name it. I tried it, and it just changed the fundamental texture of my product. And I had to say, well, I can't deviate that way because it's not the same. But I will say the original recipe was for just our vanilla caramel. And so we have developed flavors off of that. We do have the 5 flavors. We've got original salt, a dark chocolate sea salt, one covered in milk chocolate, and as you say, the Chesapeake, which has Old Bay. Yeah. Couple times a year, we do these limited batches. Well, we'll do really fun flavors. We've done lemon rosemary. We do cappuccino. We've done s'mores. We'll do these other variants and sell them in batches. Yeah. A few years back, we incorporated caramel sauce. So we do a couple different flavors of caramel sauce. And the next thing I want to do is a candy bar. So that's going to be the third outlet for where we go. Huh. So I'm trying to honestly to keep our head down and just do what we do right now well, and grow that, and then have a little bit more of the variety of flavors and stuff.
I mean, a candy bar, and you touched on.
In fact, I can't believe I said that out loud. I'm supposed to keep it hush hush. So.
Oh, I mean, break! It's like breaking news.
I know.
I'm just putting out the hits. But yeah, the cappuccino one sounds great. I love cappuccino. I actually had one later in the day that I normally would. So hearing something like that, it's just like, why are you teasing, BG? Why are you teasing?
Exactly.
I think that's, I always look for I think in an effort to try to get Baltimore out there in a position that there are things part of the landscape, the iconography as far as Baltimore is concerned. I start thinking of like, what's the candy here? What's the food here? And things like that. Mm-hmm. And not for nothing, but over the last few years when I discovered Mouth Party, I was like, oh no, that moves up because there's another game in town, but I kind of prefer what you guys are doing because it's more refined. It's more what I'm looking for. It's at a higher level. And I'm a snob when it comes to confections. I'm a confection snob. So just wanted to put that out there.
You wouldn't be the first, I'll have you to know. No, I get it. And well, that's what we're trying to do. You know, we're trying to just have, we have a niche. It's not unique, but we like to say we didn't invent caramel, but we have perfected it in our realm. And, you know, I think another thing, just to tie into kind of Baltimore, I think there's room to have multiple caramel makers here. And the beauty of Baltimore is there's still support between one another, which is really interesting. I've lived a bunch of other places, and I think that's unique to Baltimore, the support of one another.
And that's the thing that I've been hearing in various communities, whether it be within the artists that I speak to and the entrepreneurs that I speak to, are just kind of unique, cool people that I have on. I like to leave that broad space for tastemakers. And it's always that community that's a thing that's out there. And for people who aren't in the know, who are outside of Baltimore, oh, you guys are jerks, you guys are this, you guys are that. It's like, the people that are here seem to be really supportive of each other and very like in a family kind of way or what have you, not stepping on anyone's toes and trying to make sure everyone prospers, because as you put it, there's room for more than one. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we talked a little bit before that you're a transplant to the area, right?
Yep. I am. I'm from Seattle. Well, originally from Boston. I've kind of zigzagged around the country, but I spent 29 years in Seattle. So
wow.
I feel like I love Baltimore. I really do. I feel like I still have a pull west, but I have family out there still. So.
I dig it. I almost have like Seattle Mariners colors in my background for context.
Yeah, you do. You need a brighter green, but then
a little bit. Just a little Ken Griffey Jr. in the background. So since Mouth Party started in 2007, right? What has been like maybe a few of the biggest changes that have happened since its inception? And I have a bonus question, but I'll ask you after you know.
Okay. It's crazy. So it's been 14 years. That's not just nuts to think about. But, when we started for probably 3 or 4 years, we were very small. It was literally myself and maybe 2 or 3 other people. The 2 people that first joined me are still with me here today. They're now young moms, and, it's hilarious. We really are a family here. We're sort of growing together. But I think one of the changes is just the growth. I think when I started, again, it was more kind of as a whim, didn't really do a whole lot of forward thinking as to what I wanted the business to grow to be. One of the challenges of the journey has been the manufacturing aspect of it. It's a lot more complicated is not right. It's just cumbersome. There's a lot of steps. And as you grow, you need another piece of equipment or another body or another. So, but at the same time, I've loved that journey because it's a challenge. I think part of being an entrepreneur is, I think if you weren't interested in challenging yourself or taking a risk, it wouldn't gravitate to you the way that it has. So I think the growth, the adoption of, a new product line with the sauce, the reach, we're now, at the holidays, we ship all over the world, which is kind of fun. We have stores. I think we have over 800 accounts now, and we're in every state, so we're starting to kind of get a little bit of a footprint outside of the Mid-Atlantic. So I think that growth has just been really interesting and fun.
That's good to hear. And it's like the thing that really stuck out to me was it just kind of keeps you interested. Like, whatever the thing is that you're doing, once you have that down I know what I'm doing, I know what this is, maybe there's room to expand in this way. I'm going to go from A to B, not A to H or whatever. Exactly. And just kind of, but still make it exciting that you want to keep coming back and feel like, okay, how can I do this slightly different, but still get to that same result? And how can I optimize this and things like that? Yeah. And as soon as you said it applied it to just what I do, the data stuff, what have you, it's like, all right, this is just looking at numbers all day. This the numbers. And it's like,
Right.
how can I come up with a tool to automate this in some way? How can I make
Yeah.
this exciting? How can I make this a game or something that just keeps me interested and keep my mind working those skills? So what are the traits? I read there's a certain title there. What are the traits of a caramelista?
Carmelista. Well, I think one of the big traits here to be part of the Mouth Party team, I think we look for people that are hardworking, certainly don't shy away from, a strong work ethic, but we also like to have fun. We play a lot of music. There's a very diverse group here, so we're all very different. I think pride in your work. The people that work here really love to do their part really well. They know that directly affects the next person being able to do their job. Mm-hmm. And likewise, they expect a lot of the person coming before them. So there's a real process flow here. Mm-hmm. But a Carmelista, somebody that has pride in their work, that loves our products, loves the aspect of what we are as a small business trying to grow. And we do a lot of community giving and interaction. I'm loving our social media. We have a fantastic director of marketing who's one of my managers who's been here forever. And she's just really great about engaging with the community and our customers. And that's really a lot of fun too.
That's a trait I've heard when I've had Tahaka Brothers on, and I went out actually to the plant and gave me the rundown. I kind of asked a similar question. I didn't think about it because I try not to make the questions feel like they're, hey, so what do you want to be in 5 years? It just kind of takes away from it a little bit to me. And just in conversation, I was like, who are you looking for? Because everyone just has a certain energy, like they're quote unquote drinking the Kool-Aid in the most positive way possible. Yeah. And just people are happy to be to work. And it was like, essentially the main thing that they described as, you had people here that give a damn. And I was like, I like it. I like it. And I like to hear that. So, and let's see. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to order this. I have a few more questions. And there's one in here that I'm going to add that I didn't ask you. I don't know if you've listened to any of the previous podcasts, but always omit a question just to troll people a little bit.
Okay.
Describe a moment where you felt particularly accomplished in the candy biz.
Let's see. Okay. So early on, this is probably 4 years in, somebody out west found us and wanted to incorporate us into the Grammy gift bags that they give out for participants. So that was really fun because I love music. And anyhow, that was hilarious because we all were just so excited about making caramel that went out there. We sent big glass jars and, just thousands of caramels. And who knows actually who, I think Lady Antebellum, there were a couple bands that kind of, purchased from us after that. But that was fun. Just felt like we were, there was recognition outside of just my family and my immediate friend group, which is what it was at that time. And the other thing is I feel a couple of years ago, really starting to feel like people were commenting that we were becoming a gift, more of a go-to gift for representing Maryland.
That's great.
When people would get married, they'd want to have, Utz potatoes, chips, Otterbein cookies, and Mouth Party caramels. Yeah. And that really made me feel like, well, I think we've got a foothold here. Got something.
We've made it.
Yeah.
I mean, popping up in a Grammy bag. That's
fun, right? Yeah, I know.
That just solidified the question I'm going to ask you then. So I read a bit that there were two kind of hardships within the production. It was 2 total loss floods, right? And so it's to hear that you're still rocking and rolling and doing the thing. It's a testament to just that hard work and getting things done. How do you keep going? How do you get past those types of things?
It's something I'm not quite sure what the characteristic is that I have, but I don't even entertain the thought of not continuing. I came close. The night of the second flood, I sat, it was down, we used to be in Hamden at the bottom of Union Street. Yeah. And I sat there, at the yellow caution tape, watching the Jones Falls, destroy the space. And that was one moment very briefly when I thought, I don't know if I have the energy to do it again. But, I think the truth is I get my strength for perseverance through knowing that we really do have a family here. I feel responsible for not just investors that I have in the business to do what I can to have the company succeed, but for these people to continue to have a job that they care about and that's, can pay the bills and that they feel. So I think all of that is just doesn't even let me entertain the option of not continuing. So, and we also survived a global pandemic. So I think my next T-shirt is going to say 2 total lost floods and a global pandemic.
Yeah. And how's that pivot been too? Because, with here, there are some businesses who've been able to pivot a lot better than others. And there's some that you see maybe some of the small hairline fractures get exposed in one's business practices and they get blown up a little bit and they may not survive and so on. Yeah. But how has that been for Mouth Party?
Well, the pivot is the word of 2020 for sure. I mean, I think the interesting thing that we immediately noticed was the volume of online sales. People really reached out to support us online. We closed down for 2 weeks and then we were open over the summer, but very limited capacity. Sure. Because we're primarily a wholesaler, our retailers were closed. So we had nobody to sell to in essence. So really we pivoted towards making enough for our online. And then we pivoted towards working and focusing on corporate gifting for companies that wanted to say thank you to employees that were at home or, just acknowledging the craziness of the situation. I do really feel for so many people in the entertainment industry and the restaurant industry, those industries have had to come to a complete standstill for periods of times. And we're fortunate that we are a product that people want to purchase to make somebody feel good. And we fall within that discretionary income, window for a lot of people. So we were able to carry on. I'm very thankful to that. And we recognize how fortunate we are to still be here for sure.
That's great. And with just people wanting to feel good or what have you, I always talk about, I was like, candy, treats, they make you feel good, and I would imagine waistlines and a lot of orders and things are going to increase, but it's like it's joy that comes out of it, and I think that definitely Mouth Party is a part of that joy quotient. So what are some of your favorite confections, and have any of them influenced some of the ideas of how you want to approach things, maybe moving forward or recently within Mouth Party?
Yeah. Okay. So my favorite confection is one that many people don't like. It's true. I like black licorice. I know it's strange, but I do. I'm a big black licorice fan. And obviously I'm a caramel fan. My favorite, candy bar growing up was something called a marathon bar. It was years ago made by Mars Candy, and, it's braided caramel. So I think that's how my attraction to the caramel came to be. But in terms of, it'd be fun to do some type of collaboration with another type of candy maker. That's a possibility. But I know.
Are there secrets floating out there that I'm twisting your arm on digitally?
There may be. Yeah, I don't know. We are a nut-free company, and that's because my nephew is really allergic to peanuts. So I made a promise. So things like turtles and unfortunately are not in our our future. But one of the things I really like doing is collaborating with other makers of ice cream, or bakers, or even caterers that might use our products and our sauces in their cooking. So that's some way that maybe we could join forces in the confectionery world.
Little MP on top of this cake, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have two last questions. So one of them's the Baltimore question, and one of them's this bonus question. So the Baltimore question, from your vantage point, what would you say the biggest misconception about Baltimore is?
That there is not as rich a culture and art scene as there is here in Baltimore. I don't know if you went to Light City a few years back downtown, but I loved that. And I was just so struck by the creativity and the uniqueness of that night. And it was an example of how I think there's an enormous amount of creative people here. And I think that for whatever reason, I think unfortunately the weight of crime, poverty down in certain areas of the city seems to grab the national attention more than looking in depthly at this city that is so rich in history and culture and art and great food, and biotech, great medical research facilities. I mean, I think it covers the gamut, honestly. It's how broad and interesting it is. But people do say, and they say to me, because I'm from the West Coast, they'll say, well, you live in Baltimore? Why do you go to Baltimore? I was like, it's actually a great city. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
A lot here.
It's very, it's just one of those things that I want to do my part with this podcast to try to normalize it and have it in those conversations with any of those kind of other East Coast cities that are
absolutely
within driving distance. Like, why is it not regarded in the same conversation in a positive sense as, New York or Philadelphia or like DC, which is right there, not a city, but still like right there.
Yeah.
And it has a unique version of the same thing that those places are credited for having. So
yes,
it's like, how can we get to that? And I was actually the last Light City. I was one of the acts there.
You were?
It was
That's
a booth,
awesome.
and me and a couple of my other podcast buddies, we did this Q&A, and it was freezing, but it was really cool.
I did think it was just really, what I loved is everybody was on the waterfront from all over the city. And you don't see that often. That's one thing I'll say about Baltimore, which is interesting to me, being a transplant. There are more definitive lines between sections of the city than I've experienced in other parts of the country. And I look forward to seeing that continue to break down a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing, because some people believe that there are two different Baltimore. Some people believe it's just a bunch of different neighborhoods that are just kind of blocked out. And I think when there's those opportunities to come together, and it has to be this unifying factor. So like, during this past summer, I was like, there's, dissension and different things, but there's always something that brings people together. And if we can focus in those areas, I was like, even something as disposable as like, let's say if the Ravens would have won a Super Bowl, you'd have all types of just people coming together, probably having mouth party caramel, but people coming together.
They're smart.
And people coming together. And I think like more opportunity to do that, and maybe having just this kind of braggadocious thing that New York has. Like, I'm a New Yorker, we need to have some of that here, just having that pride in what we are about here. So the last question that I have is, you touched on earlier that you're a music lover, and there's music around the fine facilities over there at MP. So what's the last song that you've listened to?
Ooh. Okay. I was jamming on a song right before I talked to you hold on, I have to bring up the name of it. It's called Shaky Graves is the band.
Okay.
And so I was tuned into Spotify, when I like Spotify sometimes, because they do these random mixes for me. I'm going to see if I can find the name of the song. All right. Hold on.
That's always a tough one. It's like, oh man, I listen to so many songs.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, am I going to be able to find it?
Yeah, I was listening to some 1981 punk music from a German band called Pink Turns Blue.
Oh, nice.
I have a bit of an eclectic taste.
Yeah, well, I do too. By the way, the name of the song is called "Roll the Bones." It's a new release by Shaky Graves. Yeah, I do too. I mean, there are days when I throw on, Nina Simone, and then I rock out to Pearl Jam in the same afternoon.
It's a very West Coast thing to say right there, by the way.
Yes, yeah. See, those are that's my draw.
So that's all I have.
All right.
So I like to give at the end, I like to give my guests an opportunity to shamelessly, make a fool of yourself if you want, shamelessly plug, whether it be their website, social media, all of that good stuff. And thank you again for coming on to the podcast.
I appreciate it. It was really nice to meet you and to speak with you. Yes, mouthpartycaramel.com. If you want to get some goodies. And yes. Okay. So I have no idea because I'm not the social media person, but we are on Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. So you can find us on those occasions too.
That's fantastic. So again, I'm going to do my sign off. And again, thank you for coming onto this podcast. So for BG Purcell, the owner of Mouth Party, I am Rob Lee saying that there is art and tasty confections in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for it.